this video is going to answer the question, what is a documentary and how is it different from movies or the news? So first off, let's look at the basic definition of a documentary. Documentaries are a type of movie, okay? So they're classified as movies, but they're a type of movie. They use video and film scenes like movies, photographs, and the sounds of real people and real events. Real is the key here, real. And they're edited together like movies, but they're edited together. They create a particular story, viewpoint, message, or experience. So you can see that these are people filming documentaries, and they are about real people, real things, not made up, totally real. So let's compare movies to documentaries. So let's look at movies first, since you're more familiar with movies. So movies are totally based in fiction. They are not the real world. They are fiction. They are not real. They are made up. Even if they seem like they could happen in the real world, it is a made up thing. It's a story. Okay, they can be about anything, right? Because it can be completely made up, and they have a theme. But a movie does not have to persuade anyone of anything. Just can be a fun movie. Okay, let's hop over here to documentaries. Movies are based on fiction. Documentaries are based on reality. Movies are fiction. Documentaries are nonfiction. They are completely real and completely true. They have to be about something true that has actually happened or could happen. They can't be about anything like a movie. They have to be true. And documentaries, they try to persuade the viewer of an opinion. So by the end of the documentary, they want you to have a certain opinion. What's the similarities? Both movies and documentaries are planned beforehand. Somebody sits and they think about what they want the scenes to be a lot of the time. They both have themes. They're both edited together, right? Somebody goes and films them, and then somebody edits them afterwards and changes the order of things and can change the music and the sound and stuff. And they both use film techniques. They both use different screen or different, how they make the screen look. They can use filters. They can use camera angles. They can use different lighting. They can put music underneath to make you feel things. So those are the similarities. Let's watch a movie versus a documentary here, a couple different trailers. So they're both about climate change, but one's a movie and one's a documentary.
Are lost to explain what is causing this weather and why it has taken them by surprise.
That sudden drop in temperature less half an hour ago. Mexican officials closed the border on the line of many U.S. refugees.
Prepare to go live to Los Angeles.
What you see is happening now.
Look over there behind me.
Okay, so that's a little bit of a movie. Let's look at a documentary that's kind of about climate change as well and see the differences.
It's supposed to be 70 degrees today. It's freezing here. Speaking of global warming, we need some global warming. It's freezing.
The most criticized scene in the movie An Inconvenient Truth was showing that the combination of sea level rise and storm surge would flood the 9/11 memorial site. And people said, what a terrible exaggeration.
Hurricane Sally slammed into New York City last night, flooding the World Trade Center site.
Storms get stronger and more destructive. Watch the water splash off the city. This is global warming.
I'm so scared. Sorry.
Despair can be
Global warming. We need some.
So that was a documentary versus a movie about the same topic. So you can see some of the similarities and differences. So, documentary versus the news. You might be thinking to yourself, well, is documentary is the news? It is not. So let's start off with the news. Okay, news isn't very highly planned, right? They report the news as it happened. News isn't edited for a purpose. They edit the news to make it clear and understandable. But if they're editing it to make you believe a certain thing, then it's not the news. That's propaganda. So news should just be edited to have facts and easy to understand, not to make somebody believe a certain way. The news does not use film techniques like lighting, music to make you feel a certain way. A news has no opinion in it because their only purpose is to inform, and it has reporters who are giving the news. Let's look at documentaries. Documentaries are planned before, the news is not. Documentaries are very highly edited, the news is not. Documentaries use sound and lighting and music and film techniques, whereas the news does not. Documentaries have opinion and a purpose, okay? And they can be to entertain and inform you, where the news is not. Its purpose is not to entertain. It's just to inform you. And documentaries often have a narrator, whereas the news have reporters. The thing that is common about news and documentaries is they're about real life and they're true. So here, let's look here. This is a news report about earthquakes versus a documentary about earthquakes.
And we do have breaking news from Taiwan. Government and witnesses there say a hotel and other buildings have collapsed after a magnitude 6.4 earthquake. We're going to try and bring you pictures any moment now, but this happened near Taiwan's northeast coast, where a magnitude 6.1 quake hit on Sunday.
Okay, so there we go. And then here's a little clip from a documentary about earthquakes.
The problem isn't if the earthquake is going to be happening. It absolutely is just a matter of when. With several hundred faults together with 7% of the nation's population, the end result is a huge amount of assets potentially at risk from earthquake.
So you can see that they were using lighting and music and a narrator, and it was totally edited versus the news, which was happening as it happened. So let's look at the main features of a documentary. First is the fly on the wall. You as the audience are viewing the scene like you're there. You don't see the camera, and there's a lot of voice-over narration like what we saw when somebody's talking over what's happening. Documentaries have real content, right? Real stuff that's filmed. A lot of times they have interviews, and then they also have something called observation scenes where they show what is happening. So like that bridge that we just saw torn down, that's an observation scene. They can have dramatization. So sometimes if you're making a documentary about something that happened in the past and a camera wasn't there, people can reenact it. So documentaries have that a lot. We talked a lot about how they have film techniques, like how they pick out their lighting and their camera angles and their music to persuade you or make you feel a certain way. And they have opinions. Documentaries definitely want to persuade you of a certain viewpoint. They want you to think a certain way. They use ethos, pathos, and logos to make you to persuade you, just like we've learned. And they have a bias. They have their opinion, and everything they do is going to favor that part of their opinion. So let's watch this, and you're going to look for the features. A fly on the wall, that they have interviews and narration, if they have any reenactment, film techniques like camera angles, lighting, and music, and what the opinion or bias is.
A television program for children made its unauspicious debut on station WQED in Pittsburgh. Its host, Fred Rogers.
Mr. Rogers?
Yeah.
I want to tell you something.
What would you like to do?
I like you.
I like you, my dear. Thank you very much for telling me that.
You take all of the elements that make good television and do the exact opposite. You have Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Low production values, simple set, unlikely star. Yet, it worked.
Hello. I've always felt that I didn't need to put on a funny hat or jump through the hoop to have a relationship with a child.
He's always trying to get a message across in every show. A week on death.
What does assassination mean?
On divorce.
Some people get married, and after a while they're so unhappy that they don't want to be married anymore.
He was radical. I know everyone says that, but he was radical.
They didn't want...
So there was a lot of fly on the wall where we didn't see the camera. There were interviews. We saw lots of interviews. And then there were people narrating over real content. Everything was real that we saw. I did not see any reenactment there, but they were playing scenes from stuff before. So that one didn't have reenactment. They definitely had film techniques. They definitely had that music in there that made you feel a feeling. And it was very obvious that their opinion was that Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood was awesome. At the end, they even said he was radical. It made great TV. So that is a documentary, and the difference between documentary news and documentary and a movie.